All right, recording. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Luttrell. I'm the Procurement Training Manager for the Chief Procurement Office for General Services. Welcome to our Tuesday training. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is some of the we're going to have a canceling and rebidding clarification. There was a webinar last Thursday that I just want to clarify and go back over the canceling and rebidding process, what's required, what isn't required, etc. There was just an updated process that we have that was not communicated on the Thursday training. However, we just want to update that for everybody. So we're all on the same page moving forward. We're going to have a new training email, which is cpogs.training@illinois.gov. I'll talk about that. A couple new monthly bid buy training. We added two more January dates that were added, and we made a couple changes to the IFB job aid, and I'll walk through that as well as our Tuesday fun fact. So, first of all, canceling small purchases. So there are no requirements for canceling small purchases in the procurement code or rule. It just doesn't speak to it. So we want you to be able to follow the small purchase job aids. So for a small purchase that's greater than $10,000, according to the small purchase job aid, you would clone the bid, etc. You're going to move all those all the information will be cloned. You would then go out to all of the vendors. And not just the small business vendors. So this is after you have your small business set aside waiver, etc. Now, you do not have to cancel that small purchase. So I do want to be clear. That was something that was a little bit different than our previous processes that we had written a couple years ago. So the updated process is you do not have to. Now, if an agency would like to add a bid amendment to cancel, say as a courtesy to vendors, that is totally okay. We don't have a problem with that at all from the CPO's GS standpoint, but it's not a requirement. So that's not something that we are going to have in the job aid. I will just highlight though, if your agency, if that is a part of your small purchase process, that you do that, that you go out and you do a bid amendment and you cancel a small purchase at the bid stage, that's totally okay. We're just not going to make it a requirement. So don't feel like if you weren't doing that, you don't need to go back and add a bunch of bid amendments to cancel anything previously, as well as moving forward. Now I will say this though too, because we have a lot of different people on this call that your agency process may be different. So I don't want you to come back and say, tell your superior, well, Dave told me we don't have to do that. If it's your process at the agency, continue to do what your agency process is. I could see that, from a vendor standpoint, that as a courtesy to the vendors, that you went out to all the small businesses, and then now we're going to cancel because the prices were too high, etc. But you don't need to go back when you clone it. You do not need to put in the title rebid, etc. There was talk about that last week, and now I will say once again, if it is your agency process to do that, then continue to do it as you have. But we're not going to make that a requirement. And then this is a reminder this is only for those small purchases that are $10,000 and above, because if it was less than $10,000, it wouldn't be at the bid stage anyway. So just as always, a reminder there, because I know we have some new folks on the call. If it's a small purchase less than $10,000, it should not be converting to bid. It should be converting straight to PO, because at the requisition, you would have already received all your quotes from your small business vendors, etc. Okay? And if no small business vendors do submit quotes, you just go ahead and add more vendors at your requisition stage. You still will have that small business set aside waiver. That has not changed at all. That is a part of our small purchase process. However, you would not have to cancel, clone, and redo it. But once for those bid amendments, as a reminder too, in the small purchase, if it's over $10,000, which means you are going to do if you choose to do the cancellation, Once again, just another reminder, the SPO is the only one that can apply those bid amendments to cancel, to do any bid amendment, I should say, not just to cancel. So if bid amendment is the choice, your SPO still needs to do that. So we just want to make sure that that's very clear. So let's see, we had a question here. If an agency does elect to do a cancellation amendment, but the SPO is the only one that can apply the amendment. Yes, your timing is perfect. Actually, you just said that a couple minutes ago. So you read my mind. Yes, just a reminder, only the SPO can apply that amendment. So is there any questions on that moving forward? I know that there was, we wanted to be able to have that clarification today to make sure that everyone's on the same page moving forward. Because at the end of the day, we want to be we don't want to be adding steps to this procurement process if it's not a requirement. So that's something that we, as a CPO's office, are always cognizant of and are aware of. We understand that this process can be rather complicated to begin with, and we want to make sure that we're not adding more steps to it. As always, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you my email at the end on the final slide, but always feel free if you have any questions about this moving forward, please let me know. Okay, so speaking of canceling, that's with the small purchase. Now, if you're canceling an IFB or an RFP, the code and rule do specifically speak to this. So I do want to, it seems like a good time to talk about this. According to section 1.2040, this is just a screenshot from the rules. Any solicitation may be canceled before or after opening when the SPO determines cancellation to be in the state's best interest. It talks about SPO may request the state agency provides any information to assist in reaching that determination, et cetera, et cetera. So at an IFB, if that is the choice to cancel, and the SPO determines that it's in the state's best interest, you will provide you will create a bid amendment. So this is directly from the job aid in the IFB, which is the updated job aid for IFB, which we'll talk about in just a second. You're going to create a bid amendment to cancel and notify vendors. So very similar to your any other bid amendment that you would do. There is something specific that the code talks to. So you do need to briefly explain in that comment box the reason for the cancellation and that an opportunity will be given to compete on any resolicitation of similar supplies or services. So this comment right here is directly from the code. Then you would save continue, and then you notify your SPO to apply that amendment because, as we all know, only SPOs can apply those bid amendments. Okay, and then you see here where the SPO is going to go in, verify that it's showing to vendor, and then the SPO will apply that bid amendment. So this applies for all IFBs and RFPs, as this is a requirement in the procurement code. We have a new training email address. Yay! So please use this email address for any of the scheduling or registering for any future trainings. If you have specific questions regarding some of these trainings, you can still reach out to me personally. It's just as we have a new procurement training specialist that has started with us, and he's doing great, but he's also going to help with managing some of our trainings, etc. And so that we have access to this training and a calendar so we can keep on the same page. So any training related specific, registering, scheduling, if you have cancellations, you can't make it to a training, etc., because we always have waiting lists for these trainings, please contact cpogs.training@illinois.gov. So we have two new dates that were added to the schedule. We have Wednesday, January 8th and Wednesday, January 22nd. Similar to our other ones that we have scheduled, it'll be at the CDB Computer Lab at the Stratton Building in Springfield. That's room 320 Stratton. And this is really tailored for those that are new to bid buy. So it's perfect for those new to bid buy. This is what we're going to be running over. We're going to be talking about the general navigation, what do all the buttons mean, how do you get around the system. We're going to talk about releases off masters, as well as small purchases, and then just that general workflow in bid buy. Because those of you that have been in bid buy for a long time, you know that we go requisition to bid tab to purchase order. So that general workflow is the same. Now, however, it's going to be different from a small purchase versus an IFB versus an RFP, etc. But we have that general workflow. So, while we are only doing, releases off of masters and small purchases in these one-day trainings, we also are very cognizant of talking about, okay, now this is a small purchase, but this is what you would do if it was an IFB, etc. Because we want to be able to, put in as much training as we can in one day, so we don't have multi-day trainings, and keeping you out of the office, etc. But at the same time, we want to be a resource for you, so that you guys can really understand how the system works, from start to finish. So that general navigation piece is a big piece of what we talk about. And then you'll get access to the training environment, and you can go on your own and work in that training environment. So it really is intended for those that are new to bid buy, but we also understand that some employees might have been in bid buy and have had minimal training but need more of a refresher, and that's perfectly okay. But I do want to be clear that this is really it's made for those that are new to bid buy, and we are talking about potentially adding an additional training that's more of a deep dive for those people that are have been in the system for a year or two, but really just want to have specific deep dive sorts of trainings things. So that's something that is going to be coming out very soon. And you will email if you want to get in any of these trainings. You'll email the cpogs.training@illinois.gov to register. These have filled up pretty quickly. The 3 that we have offered so far have been full, and we have waiting lists for them as well, because it's a smaller room in CDB. There's only 12 or 14 computers, but we want to be able to get out and do as much training as we potentially can. So. Okay, so we have new job aids updated for the IFB. So if you go out right now, you'll see that the IFB the version number is 20.2. And here's the 2 things that we recently added. So we're in the purchase order, you will need to delete the renewal options at the PO in the items tab. So when you go to process the PO, we've already gone through rec, bid tab, we've converted a purchase order, we have our vendor, etc. When we're processing that purchase order, you'll go into the items tab and you're going to delete all the renewal items. And so, we put a note in there that note this PO is for the initial term only, or it's for whatever that specific term. So that PO isn't for all of the renewal options that could potentially be in the future. Okay, so we just want to be clear about that. We are seeing some of that has happened, and we realized that, hey, we didn't have that deletion in that job aid. So that's there. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. And then also the canceling piece that we just talked about. So this is the same screenshot where you would create the bid amendment to cancel an IFB. All right, so my fun fact is, on this day, 1863, Illinois' favorite son delivers his famous Gettysburg Address. I married a history teacher, so these are the nerdy things that we talk about. And being from Springfield, Illinois, all things Lincoln, why not for our fun fact this Tuesday morning? Here's the one that is always here for our Tuesdays, just kind of letting you know if you're new to this Training Tuesdays, what we'll be talking about, etc. I will send these slides out to everybody that's on the call today, as always. And here's our cpogs.training@illinois.gov. And do we have any questions? Cool fun fact, as they say. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's kind of almost obligatory, right? The Illinois Lincoln thing, but we love it. All right, so seeing no questions, if there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out to the cpogs.training email or mine, and everybody have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.